Tonight, the Cabinet has approved some major changes to the Goods and Services Tax Constitutional Amendment Bill, just as CNBC TV 18 had reported. This comes a day after states expressed reservations over many provisions. The government seems to have addressed at least some of those. Sapna Das, who's been tracking the developments through the day, joins us now from outside the Finance Ministry. Sapna, so some of those demands that were being made by the state-empowered panel now being addressed by way of the changes that the Cabinet has cleared this evening.
That's right. The first off is the compensation clause, wherein the wording is likely to be, compensation will be prescribed up to 5 years. That's probably a big departure from what has been so far, because the word prescribed here will carry a lot of weight. First is that. Second is, of course, the dispute resolution will be left with the GST Council. Again, there was consensus on this front in the State Finance Minister's meeting yesterday. But the fact that this is not going to be put in the constitutional bill, that again is a big step that the centre has taken. The third, of course, and that is on expected lines here, the government had been amenable right from the word go, which is basically doing away with the 1% manufacturing tax. The plan on the part of the centre now is that hopefully, they'll garner support from the opposition, and hopefully the bill should be tabled in the Rajya Sabha next week. There is no confirmation as of now on that front, but that is what the effort is going to be. Also, in the meanwhile, the broad guiding principles that have now been worked out by the State Finance Minister's panel on the R&R, that also will be shared with the opposition now to try and convince them on the fact that why the capping of rates in the constitution bill has not been possible, has not been feasible. States, of course, have shot this proposal down. It's not that, however, that all states, have agreed on that aspect, but majority of the states, which means basically more than 15 states, are supporting this entire thing. So these are what the developments are. Just have to keep our fingers crossed as to know what happens to the bill actually.
Well, that is right, Sapna, and that's a completely different story. But let's start getting in political reactions. K. Pandiarajan, the AIADMK spokesperson, joins us. Mr. Pandiarajan, we spoke just a short while ago, and since then we've now seen the Cabinet clear some big changes to the GST Constitutional Amendment Bill. This, of course, post the feedback from the State Finance Minister's panel that met in the capital last evening. Are you now more convinced about your supporting the GST bill? They have now guaranteed compensation for 5 years, dispute resolution by way of the GST Council, and the 1% manufacturing tax has been done away with.
Absolutely, three changes which have emanated after the empowered committee of the finance minister yesterday. We are happy with the one part which is converting this term from may to shall, which is basically guaranteeing a compensation for 5 years. That's a significant movement. But the other two things really have their pluses and minuses. It's not having 1% manufacturing tax, in a way, actually hurts states like us. It's probably going to increase the level of compensation that we will actually seek, the 9,270 crores of compensation that we worked out. That assuming that there is a 1% manufacturing tax, out of which we retain 4% of the centre.
But sir, but the centre is guaranteeing you compensation for any revenue lost, sir.
Yeah, no, that's right. That is, in any case, part of the transition plan for GST. There's nothing new about it. All that we asked was for a clear guarantee for 5 years, which they have given right now. But how much is the amount is the key question, and how this will get arrived at. The GST Council, in a way, getting converted as the monitoring kind of a council for GST implementation is a welcome step, which is what we proposed. We said, let them not have another creation, which they've agreed to. But they have not given any indication as to the state's voting rights in this particular thing. We've asked for the centre's voting rights to be limited to 25%, and the states collectively should be around 75% in terms of the voting rights in this GST Council. And we also said the states should have a weightage proportionate to the percentage of the Rajya Sabha seats that they hold. I mean, this is also something where there's been no movement. And these are two key things for us. How much is the compensation? What are the principles by which you arrive at the revenue rate? Yeah, and that principle, they said they'll discuss with the opposition. We still don't have an outline of it. The two presentations which got made in this empowered committee, one was by the Chief Economic Advisor, and another is by the Center for Finance and Policy, Dr. Kavita Rao.
Yes.
Both of them actually, gave us more confusion because they're talking about 110,000 crores of compensation, and the revenue neutral rate needs to be in that case much higher. That is, even the central government needs compensation, apparently, according to this current set of discussions. So I'm not sure whether we're coming closer to convergence at this point in time, though, as well as we are concerned, out of the 10 issues that our CM raised with the Prime Minister, and these are 10 issues we've raised right from the time Congress passed this GST bill in a hurry in the Parliament, in the lower house of the Parliament.
Yes.
We raised the same 10 points, and I think about 7 of them now are either addressed or become infructuous. But the 3 issues are...
So 7 have now been addressed. So will you, Mr. Pandiarajan, if the centre assures you that they will look into the other 3 pending demands that you have, will you support the GST bill in the Rajya Sabha?
No, but those 3 are very fundamental, especially the quantum of the compensation, the principles used to arrive at the compensation, the mechanism which is set in place, the GST Council, the kind of power to influence this council that will rest with the state governments. These are to us the 3 key issues, and those 3 need to be addressed in order to get anywhere close to us signing a part of the GST. And in my view, with the Congress pressure, the 1% manufacturing tax getting removed creates, a singular focus that there's a compensation principle which needs to be discussed. But that's, to me, a big thing and a big hurdle which need to be crossed.
All right, so you're not willing to give in your support. You have 13 MPs in the Rajya Sabha. You're not willing to give in your support just yet. But let me also go across and speak with JDU MP KC Tyagi, also a member of the GST parliamentary panel. Mr. Tyagi, appreciate you joining us. The JDU has, of course, been in support of the GST bill, sir. The government has made some changes. Your first reactions, and will you support the bill in the Rajya Sabha if the government tables it next week?
As a member of the Select Committee on behalf of JDU, I was of the opinion, the party is of the opinion, our party president is of the opinion, the Chief Minister, Shri Nitish Kumar, is of the opinion that we are not a manufacturing state. We are a consumer state. We will be benefited after the implementation of the GST bill. Therefore, we have decided to support the bill. But on the other hand, we were of the opinion that the manufacturing states' grievances must be addressed. And there should be a meaningful dialogue between the ruling party and the main opposition party. I am happy that the government has decided and is trying hard with the opposition party as well as the manufacturing state. Bill is coming to Rajya Sabha. We will support it.
You will support it, so your stand continues to remain consistent.
Yes,
Mr. Tyagi, do you get a sense, sir, that we are likely to see the GST bill being taken up for discussion and passage next week? The government had... Okay, so you would like the early passage of this bill. Let me get in a quick word again from Mr. Pandiarajan. Mr. Pandiarajan, you just heard Mr. KC Tyagi. Of course, they have a different issue because they're a consumption-oriented state and not a manufacturing state like Tamil Nadu. But do you find yourself, along with the Congress party, more and more isolated, Mr. Pandiarajan?
Not really. I think the crux of the issue has not been addressed yet. In our view, I think the principles by which the compensation will happen needs to be spelled out in the open, and the way this compensation will get arrived at, especially the GST Council, its composition, its voting rights, I think that would need to get decided. In my view, the crux of the issue is really that, and I hope the central government addresses it faster. The faster it does it, because we're not in principle opposed to GST as a philosophy, but we really understand that for an exporting state, for a manufacturing state like us who consume a lot...
I get your point, sir.
We need to have this addressed. If it gets addressed, yes, we'll be on board. Otherwise, I don't see this bill getting passed anywhere near becoming an act. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the categorical assertion there coming in from the AIADMK that only if there are issues or concerns related to compensation are addressed will they support the GST bill in Parliament. Also joining us now, MS Money, Senior Director at Deloitte. Money, appreciate you joining us here. Three crucial changes being cleared by the Cabinet today. Do you believe that this will now try and broker more political consensus to ensure the passage of the bill?
Shireen, it's very difficult to comment on the political consensus, but what I would say is that this really signifies the seriousness that the government is attaching to GST. Because just yesterday we had a meeting of the Empowered Committee of the State Finance Ministers, and for the Cabinet to take it up within one day and come to a conclusion and draft the revised bill within a day is really very commendable.
Do you believe that the changes that have been made, especially that 1% manufacturing tax, which seemed pretty much like a foregone conclusion that it would go, at least in terms of design and architecture, we stand better today?
Yes, it is excellent that they have decided to do away with the 1% tax, because that in any case was a major flaw in the GST process itself. Because the GST is predicated on the fact that at every stage there would be an input tax credit of the earlier stage. And this 1% tax was really an aberration in that whole process. So to that extent, it is excellent that they've decided to do away with it.
Yes, that certainly is good news. And as you said, the Empowered panel met yesterday and today the Cabinet giving its go-ahead to some of those crucial changes. Mani, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. I also spoke with Kerala's Finance Minister Thomas Isaac, supporting the GST bill. And here's his take on yesterday's meeting and the changes that have now been made by the Cabinet.
Well, most important change is in the wording of the clause related to compensation. The original bill stated that the Parliament may, by law, may, not shall. So shall has been instituted so that the certainty that compensation will be paid. An adjective has been added to compensation, a full compensation, not some compensation. And finally, the third amendment change has been that full compensation for 5 years, not tapering, nothing else, so full 5 years. I think this is the major change has come. Secondly, the destination principle has been totally reiterated by removing that 1% additional tax for the producer states. So, and most of the changes have been the wording rather than very substantial changes